Hi, my name is Rick Bloodworth. This is the Common Sense Christian channel, and today we want to talk about a new spirit and something of a revival that I believe we are witnessing going on right now in America and perhaps in other parts of the world as well. There's a connection, I think, to what's going on at this time of year, and I want to make that connection. At this time of year, between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it just seems like people are a little bit kinder to one another. They intentionally go out of their way to be kind to one another. Now, it's true when we're kids, sometimes we do that with the motivation of getting nicer gifts, but I mean the adults. I mean the way people seem to treat one another at this time of year. I understand that there are some old cranks out there, and there are some people who never really seem to get into the spirit of this time of the year. I'm not talking about those instances. I'm talking about people in general going out of their way just to be nice to one another. It's contagious, isn't it? Somebody wishes you a Merry Christmas and you wish them one right back. They hold the door open for you and you tell them how much you appreciate it. People greet one another. There seems to be a more genuine nature to people. This fulfills a commandment that is so important. In Matthew chapter 22, Jesus was asked what the greatest commandment was. Do you remember what his reply was? He said, "Love God with all your heart and soul and mind." He said that was the first and the greatest commandment. But then he went on to say this, "Love your neighbor as yourself." And he said all the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Well, when you go back to the old law, the law of Moses, and you read the prophets and their teachings, as well as their warnings and their encouragements, you see how important this is. When Jesus says that the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments, without a love for God and without a love for our fellow man, the commandments don't work, do they? People have no motivation to obey the commandments. They don't want to. But when we have a genuine affection for God, a genuine respect for God, a fear of God that's healthy, and when we have a love for one another to where we want them to be happy, where we want the best for them, we love them as ourselves, well, everything just seems to work. And we hit at the essence of what the Bible is about, the essence of God's commandments. They're not just to blindly follow them so we can check them off of our list and talk about how righteous we are. God wants us to live for Him and to live for others and to truly help one another. We'll do that if we love God and if we love our neighbors, but if we don't, well, we won't. But again, this time of year is a time it does seem like people genuinely go out of their way to be kind to one another. Well, I've noticed that throughout this particular year. As a matter of fact, for a couple of years now, there seems to be something of a revival going on. I've noticed it first at church when we started having more and more younger people coming out to worship with us. I think you have to not be paying attention to not have not noticed in the last several decades that it seems like the church just keeps getting older and older. But in the past few years, at least where we attend, there's been a difference, and I've seen this as we've traveled around the nation as well. It seems like there are more young people coming into it. There's something about this generation. Maybe it's because so many of them are just tired of the political correctness and the wokeness of everybody, where they have to kind of walk on eggshells around everybody and where everybody just seems to be mad at one another. Maybe there's just kind of a rebellion against that and a desire to break away from that, to stop judging each other, to stop being so angry with one another, looking for insult and looking for offense. It seems like there is something about at least a portion of this younger generation that wants to get back to God. They've seen the failures of the other way. They've seen the failures of the godless society. And as they start getting back to God, and as they start getting back to worship with the church, they make a connection that is so vital. And it renews their life. They can see the difference between what there is in society and what there is in the church. If the church is acting like they're supposed to be acting. And there does seem to be a revival. More and more younger people. In this last couple of years at the church that I attend, we have had to add a number of classes. Our nursery class was almost non-existent. We didn't have much of a preschool class, but now we're adding a nursery class and kind of a toddler class and then a preschool class. Our ladies are getting really busy just teaching these Bible classes because we just seem to be getting more and more children to go along with these young people. There's a revival, a renewal. And I believe it's because of this revival that people are becoming more and more kind to one another. They're starting to have a genuine Christianity, not just a lip service, but a genuine motivation, a genuine concern for others, as well as a genuine joy about being around others. I've also noticed that it's hard to leave on a Sunday morning or a Sunday night or a Wednesday night very quickly because people just stick around and visit with one another. And then they'll walk out to their car and they'll visit some more as they're going out to their cars. There's not a mad rush to get away. There seems to be a reluctance to leave. And it's this type of revival where there's a genuine love for one another, and especially a genuine joy in being with other people who love God and who want to please Him. It's this revival that I think is starting to change the fabric of our society. I understand that this society in many aspects is getting meaner and meaner. There's a number of facets of our modern day society that are just unpleasant. But I think if we look a little bit harder, we're going to see that there is a revival going on. It may be that the wicked are getting more wicked, but I do believe that there are some people in this world who are just trying to be more righteous, who recognize their responsibility towards God. And we see that. Again, we've always kind of seen that at this time of year. I remember when I was a little boy and we'd go around and we'd sing Christmas carols around the neighborhood. And I can even remember the church that I worshiped with, the young people went to the nursing home and they would sing Christmas carols for the older people. And you know what that's like, especially when you're a kid. Older people are kind of scary, especially in nursing homes. And yet there was such a joy amongst the people when you would go and sing those Christmas carols to them and just talk to them for a little bit. There was a hunger for youth amongst those people, and it was filled with that fellowship. Well, this is the type of thing I think we need year-round, don't you? And again, I think we're starting to see it. My wife and I just went on a trip up to Washington State, and while it's true that they have their share of homeless problems and certainly their share of drug problems, and it's not all that righteous of an area, it was interesting to notice how many people, especially people in areas of service, went out of their way to help you. Instead of just doing the bare minimum. We were at a parking garage, and I guess maybe it's just because we're older now and we look older and less sure of ourselves, that the parking attendant there noticed, and he came out from his little hutch and asked us what we needed, and he showed us how to operate the new modern fangled payment system, and he was just very helpful and very friendly. Had a smile on his face. And as we flew back, we noticed more and more people that seemed very genuinely eager to help. And then when we got back into town, again, at the airport, as we were leaving and paying our parking, long-term parking for that, again, the person who was there, the attendant there, was just so friendly and so helpful. I've been painting a house, and I'll walk into Ace Hardware store sometimes a couple times a day, and it just seems like the people there go out of their way to see what they can do for you. It's not so much like we've been getting used to, where people just seem like you're an inconvenience, even if you're a customer. There seems to be a change, a shift. Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think I am. There seems to be some reason for encouragement. Something similar was happening in Israel back during Ezekiel's time, or was about to happen. In Ezekiel chapter 36, and starting in verse 26, this is what God said. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. And I will put my spirit in you and move you to follow my decrees and be careful to keep my laws. You will live in the land that I gave your forefathers, and you will be my people, and I will be your God. This is a people who are going to be punished. Some of them were being punished. But God was seeing something within them, and he was willing to put a new spirit into them because there was something about them. He saw the potential, let's say. And so he said, I'm going to put a new heart and a new spirit in you. And then he concluded that with, you'll be my people and I'll be your God. In the Old Testament, that was part of the covenant language. That was like signing a contract, only much deeper. And God would say, I'll be your God and you'll be my people if you'll do these things. Well, now God is saying, I'm going to put a new spirit in you. You're going to get rid of that old heart of stone, and I'm going to give you a heart of flesh. And I'll be your God and you'll be my people. I think I'm seeing that today. I think I'm seeing people with a new spirit. Not everybody, certainly. There's still a lot of people out there that are just old grumps. A lot of people who are very self-centered. There's a lot of wicked people. I realize that. But it seems like the pendulum is starting to swing back. It seems like people are starting to have a desire, more and more people, including our younger generation, who want to get back to God and who want to serve him and who want to fulfill the two great commandments, to love God and to love their neighbor as themselves. It's a marvelous thing. It may just be a spark right now, but you and I can do something to fan that spark into a flame if we'll be attentive to it, if we'll do our part. There's another passage that's found in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 24, and it says this, let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds. Consider how you can spur one another on to love and good deeds. This, I believe, is part of what's required for a revival. It's not enough just to live in this world and try and be righteous and just keep that righteousness to yourself. It needs to be shared. There needs to be a compassion about us that sees the needs of other people and has a desire to help them with their needs. Kind of like the little kids singing Christmas carols to people in a nursing home. I realize that's a very simple thing, a very minor thing, but it is something that's a little bit out of the ordinary. And certainly it was the adults who prompted that. It was the adults who were trying to train us in such a way as to see that there were needs that other people had. There were people outside of us who needed joy in their life. And the adults who are around us were trying to train us to notice that, to recognize it and do something about it. There's a lot of people who are down at times. And sometimes this time of year is particularly hard for some people, especially if they've lost someone that they love or if they're going through some sort of a struggle if we'll be attentive to the needs of others, if we'll look for ways to where we can spur them on to love and good deeds, if we'll think of ways that we can encourage one another, well, that's going to take this spark of a revival that I think is going on right now, and it really is going to fan it into a flame. The church needs a revival. America needs a revival. The world needs a revival. I think we're starting to see it. We can keep that revival going if we'll just do our part to go out of our way to be kind to other people, to help lift burdens that they can't lift on their own, to truly exercise our religion by taking care of others who are truly in need. And if we can do our best to try and bring joy and cheer and happiness to other people. If you and I can do that, well, we can take this new spirit that God's willing to give every one of us, and this new heart that God's willing to give every one of us, and we can do a little bit of heart transplants ourselves, and spirit transplants, if you will. By encouraging others, I think that will encourage them and spur them on to encourage others themselves. We can do that. I want to say again, I love this time of year. I really like the fact that people seem to genuinely go out of their way to be kind to others, just to be kind. If we can do that year round, if we can get a renewed devotion to God, an absolute intensity in serving Him to the best of our ability in the way that He wants us to, and then to broaden that out to actually help other people and lift them up when they need lifting up, well, I believe we can change the world. You can do it one person at a time. I think there may be a revival going on right now. Let's do our best to make sure that we take part in that revival. And maybe between you and I and everybody we can influence, we can make a difference in this world. Who knows, with God's help, anything is possible. Maybe we can turn the world around. Let's do our part. Well, that's the message for today. Thank you for watching. I pray that God will richly bless us as we seek to serve Him to the best of our ability. God bless.